Salam alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I'm Preach Boss, host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show. We want to say your community podcast coming to you since 2020, since the pandemic. Hope everybody's doing well. I know this is the Wednesday before we start Ramadan. I don't know if Ramadan is going to start Friday night or it's going to start Saturday, but it is here. It's going to start this week. So have no fear. The moon is going to come, and then we're going to be right back into Ramadan mode. Probably couldn't come at a better time for a lot of us because this I want to say this time of self reflection, this time of self actualization, and also the forbearance of really doing. This is what Allah asks from us. We are doing it, so I think that's important too. Um, yeah, I want to make sure that we're touching on that. For everybody who's sick and shut in, man, we have a lot of folks. Uh, Too many people. We got a lot of folks. Got a long list of folks. So I'm just gonna send out a blanket dua that Allah increase you, heal you, whatever it is, physical, mental, spiritual, financial. That Allah puts His hands on your situation and makes it better. Okay. That being said, we're talking about sickness and illness. So today's show, metaphorically, is about sickness and illness. It is not a race show. This is not a race show. This is a reverse DEI show where I've decided to talk about the people who claim that DEI is for folks like myself, and it is not. It's part of a big lie, part of a big conspiracy, because when culturally and foundationally you have been accustomed to being able to say things without reproach, to say things without rebuttal or debate, what happens is it's not that the lie becomes the truth. The lie is the truth. It doesn't become the truth. The lie is the truth. In today's title, white folks, a lot of white folks. This topic is something that I really, and we're close to Savior's Day, Tim, and we very close to Savior's Day. This is something I saw years ago on the Phil Donahue show. For those who remember the Phil Donahue show, and they had the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan talking to a white audience, and the white audience began this whole thing about how they felt so fed up that they've been over backwards for black people and we're not happy. That somehow at this point in time in history, we need to get together and be peaceful and all these things. And I'm like, this is the lie that they tell when black folk and Latinos and people of color are not in the room. These are the lies that become legislation. These are the lies that become laws. And I think the scary part about it is, we talk about intent. To them, the intent is correct. The intent is to maintain this sense of comfortability, maintain this sense of lifestyle, maintain this sense of advantage and superiority. But it's artificial. And every time it bumps up against some black folk who are aware or quote unquote woke, it stirs the masses because the masses are not used to people having authentic ideas, organic understanding of the situation scenarios. That in many times what frustrates people is that we don't take the traps that are out there. So listen, I want everybody to take a step back, if you will. And I need to start an Instagram, Satana. Sorry about that. But I want everybody to kind of take a step back, and I want to break it down to you. And I want to give it to you in the best language that I can, of course, with humor. But I also want to give it to you in the language of two of my teachers. One is Imam Wattadin Muhammad. And the other one is my comedy godfather. That would be Mr. Dick Gregory. And explaining to people and giving context and subtext for what you're seeing. Because at some point in time, what you're seeing now is only happening now because it didn't work back then. And so it's been repackaged and reintroduced and re-unveiled so that the new problem that you see now is nothing but the old problem. And that old problem had been solved. That riddle had been solved. But when you have somebody who knows the answer to the test, you get new students. You get new people to take the test and you make sure that they don't get the answers. You make sure that they don't have the history. You make sure that there's not outlets for them to go out and research and do independent fact finding about their situation scenarios. All right. So listen, we're going to be back. This is Preach Boss on the Shout Out Show. We're talking about when white folks lie to white folks. Get there. Talk to you soon. See, be back. Be right back. Take it away. All right, everybody, we're back. Let me make sure my sound okay, Satana? Okay, great. So before we get started, I want to give a shout out to brother Jawan, Sister Reed's son. He had to have knee surgery today. Hope that everything goes well and you're on the road to recovery. May Allah give you shifa. Sister Reed, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for keeping us updated. Dua's out. Of course, then I want to give a shout out to one of my Milwaukee moms, Maisie Thomas, JT's mother. I want to give a shout out. And Miss Maisie, hope you're doing well and recovering. You know, I love you. But listen to the doctors. Don't do too much. And my brother Imam in New Jersey, brother, I hope you're doing well. Whenever he's up for a call, can we get him on the shout out show? Inshallah, baby. Okay, all right. And a special announcement, just so you know, next week we'll have a guest. I don't know if you saw the not the shout out show, good ways. The halftime show at the Super Bowl had Kendrick Lamar. He did a fabulous job. We did a podcast about Kendrick Lamar. You can go back and check that out. I want to bring attention to the fact that at one part of the concert, there's a black man, a brother, a Muslim, who decided to pop out, if you will, and hold up a sign for the Sudan and Gaza for peace in the Sudan and Gaza. And that brother, you know, he had his moment of protest. He jumped off the car, he got caught. Alhamdulillah, though they did not prosecute the brother. His name is brother Zulkanan. He will be on our show next week, inshallah. And we're going to have some questions for him. Hold on, quick moment. Quick moment. All right, yeah. All right, so that's one thing. I want to give a shout out to my main man, Alta Rashid. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullah barakatuh. A good brother, dear brother from Toronto, Canada. We call him Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down, our Canadian envoy to the show. Thank you so much for joining us, brother. Big brother Bilal Salahuddin and his queen, Sister Sonia Dalton Salahuddin. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi barakatuh. Dear brother, thank you so much for tuning in. I want to give a shout out to JT. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi barakatuh. I gave a shout out to mom, so I know you got that situation handled. Good to see you in place. My main man, Jabril Howe, all the way from Charlotte, North Carolina. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi barakatuh. Now Jabril's already starting. So I tell white folk the truth, no matter how much they detest it. Oh, there you go. And we're gonna talk about that too, Jabril. And of course, we're gonna give a shout out to Sister Tana Whitfield, our executive producer here on the Shout Out Show, without whom this thing would just not run as smoothly as it does. You know, Satana, I looked at last week's a week before, when I talked about surviving bad leadership. I had to sit back and go, you know what? Our podcast has come a really long way. This is a good podcast. We do a darn good job, people. We may not have the viewership that we want, but you know what? I don't worry about that because you know that can be fixed, that can be tweaked. But we got a treasure trove of stuff, man. I'm like, and I want to give a shout out to Sister Tana who stepped up in the EP role. You know, she was a producer, but the exec producer role comes up with the ideas and us being able to do things and frame the show out different ways. So I want to give a shout out to you as well. Man, let's get to the point today. When white folks lie to white folks. Here's the interesting thing: if you've been black enough long enough in America, you've been black enough, you've been black long enough in America. Maybe you go back to the. In fact, if your birth certificate under race, if it said colored instead of black, you've been around a long time. Here's what I think you should understand, which is the crazy part of it. And Jabril kind of alluded to it. See, when white folks lie to white folks. See, Jabril talk about telling the truth. That's why he gets in trouble. But when white folks lie to white folks, I used to think that it had this huge overlay of intentionality of evil. Evil, something had to be devious. There's some alternative motive. I had to dig deep. And what I realized was it wasn't the lies that were being told. It was the culture that was being perpetuated. It was the culture that was being perpetuated. We don't have the privilege of looking into a crystal ball and understanding how our forefathers were treated, how our great great greats were treated, or our great 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 greats were treated back in the times of slavery or in islands, or how they were brought over from Africa. We don't have that. When I watched Phil Donahue with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan speaking to these people, it was interesting because it was like being in a parallel universe. Many people of color, dealing with white supremacy in America, it's really, really, it's tough to think of it as isolated. It's tough to think that it only happens over here, da da da. And you know what the scope of it is? That truth tellers that have the most difficult time dealing with the white lies. Let's just say the white lies, not the lies that white people tell. The white lies have so much to do with the foundation of this country. Understanding that with people who were put in subjected to chattel slavery and things like that, that your value didn't merit any kind of importance other than function. To understand that this process that we see right now playing out here in the United States, these are the white, these are the lies that white folks tell other white folks. We are in a situation we were on the sideline, if you will. We have to be in the game, but for right now, even being in the game is difficult because we're in the sideline, whereby somehow, someplace, we are watching atoms crash. And these are not black atoms. These are ideas that have been nurtured, they've been promoted, they've been institutionalized in some regards. But in the end of it, because they don't have a framework, any kind of truth or applicability to any kind of reality, what you see now is the lies that white folk tell other white folk, and it's scary. This is why it's scary. It's scary because when you tell lies, and in your heart, in your mind, the truth is not an option. Where do you go? Right? Where do you go? If you're in a burning building and there's one door out, but you believe for your whole life there's another door in the basement, because of pride and arrogance, I will probably burn up in that house because I'm afraid, hear me now, I'm afraid that that door, if I open it, it makes the whole house of cards tumble. And we've seen it. You know, part of African American existence, if we have to watch white America, large swaths of white America, wake up to the lies that they've been telling themselves for years. You know, you know, African American existence is problematic because it's political. Because it's political. And what I mean by that is the idea of African American expression and freedom acts and liberation acts, they're tied to something totally different because they are framed not just with the truth of who they are, but they're framed with it dispels the lie, it devalues the lie. We watched an election, and for the most part, I watched white people lie to other white people. Now, don't get me wrong. They try to lie to black people. I also realized how Trump got so much of the black vote. This is a true story. Satana, listen to me. I figured out how he got a lot of the truth. I'm a big Spencer for Hire fan, right? I'm a big Spencer for Hire fan. I love a man called Hawk, even though you can't find it anywhere. Only place you could find Spencer for Hire is on Tubi. And when you watch Tubi, you have to watch a bunch of ads about President Trump. what Trump is going to do. I'm like, this dude, they figured out Tubi is one of the most influential tools in the black community. And they figured out low budget, fast TV as how they can get black folks disenchanted. Okay. Because I'm saying that because I look, all the other commercials. There's the pharmaceutical commercials, and there's Trump advocating for steel, Trump this, Trump that. So yeah, we're very impressionable. Okay, that's wrong, but it's funny. So here's the deal. There was a time one time in college, I think it was my sophomore year, and we were playing basketball. I believe we was playing basketball. And it was an issue. We had a black team, predominantly black team, getting ready to play another white team. It was a Saturday morning. And things were getting a little rough, and the game was getting physical. And there's a big guy there, a big muscle bound guy named Johnny. I can never forget his name. He had a cameo, hot top cameo like Larry Blackman from. He looked like Larry Blackman from Cameo. And the game's getting really, really physical. And he said something. He goes, "Stop trying to be physical with him." We were like, "What?" He goes, "Stop trying to be physical with him." He says they believe that they can win as long as they're physical with us. And I'm like, "Well, yeah, they could win." He said, "This is what we need to do." He said, "We're going to play a finesse game. We're going to spread the court out." He says, "We know your shot is good from 20 feet. Your shot," he said, "we're going to move the ball around." He said, "What we're going to do is we're going to score that way." And he said, "Don't say anything." I mean, "What do you mean don't say?" He said, "Don't nobody say anything." And sure enough, we started scoring the ball. And what we watched in silence is the team across from us. The team across from us who thought that they can win with this system fall apart. Fall apart. And the mandate from Johnny was like, don't even celebrate in front of them. Just keep it business-like. And we realized that as long as they felt that they can win this particular way, they were confident. But when we changed the game, when we stepped back, all of a sudden it's like there's no game plan. The most truthful of white people who have to deal with white supremacy is the fact they live their lives as certain almost race traitors. That the people who per se follow their religious orientation, ideology, they value their religious doctrine, and it subsumes the whole idea about racism. That this is my brother to my sister. It in many ways it undercuts, it undermines the lie that these people don't have value. Two things. When white folks, a lot of white folks, the truth is not in the room, number one. But the thing is, the truth, if they're looking for it, has to be found on the people that they're lying about. It has to be found on the people who literally have nothing to do with what you're talking about. Everybody's waking up to DEI. Well, DEI is, come on, folks. If you live long enough, you remember affirmative action. What was it? Affirmative action became the Allen Bakke case, which was an argument for reverse discrimination. That they took discrimination and somehow it's reverse discrimination. And when they took DEI out, the scope of it was somehow, somewhere, that equality had been attained, that fairness had been attained. When I was watching Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on Donahue, this is years ago, you can look it up on YouTube. The interesting thing he said was people have this false equivalency, is what he's saying. That people can be enslaved, discriminated against, killed, murdered, imprisoned for 300 years, and then the person who's responsible for it, or the system who's responsible goes a system that's responsible for it goes, okay, kumbaya. Let's all live in peace. And you want me to forget, you want me to forget that. You want me to forget everything that I've gone through, my relatives have gone through, my grandmother, my grandfather, their parents, how they got to this country. You want me to forget it because it's comfortable for you. You see, the lies that white people tell other lies, the white people that tell, the lies that white people tell, white people are meant to extend the comfortability. It's meant to, you know, the Spanish War begins with a lie. The U.S. sunk its own ship, and through yellow journalism, they blamed it on everybody else. Right? This is nothing new. This happens now. I mean, you're looking at a president, two planes collide in Washington, D.C., he blames it on DEI. It has nothing to do with DEI. The scope of it is, DEI was the big lie. And when people get tired of the lie, they say it benefits you, but it doesn't benefit you. We have a holiday, Juneteenth, of all the things that we could be celebrating in terms of a holiday for African American excellence and brilliance. They chose Juneteenth. And in fact, man, black folk didn't even ask for it. We didn't ask for it. And as you begin to move forward, and I'm going to be as much of a truth teller during Ramadan as I could be. I was almost so fired up, Satana, I was about to bring back Ramadan 30 for 30 and go for it, because we just in those times, you know what I mean? I literally feel like, though we do a weekly show, there's so much stuff that happens in a week. I feel like, man, I'm always catching up, because in my mind and my heart is like, oh, we could do a weekly show, but the world is in such a, people, if you don't know, some of you know, we used to be 7 days a week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we were an entire hour, 7 days a week. But just due to reality and time constraints, just the fact that we had things we need to do with our lives, like live them, we stepped back. I want to bring this point up. I want to bring this point up. The idea of when white people tell lies to white people, it is to occupy their minds. It is to give them a motive or modality away from any kind of discernment about what the rest of the world is doing. Per se, you ask the average American, they would tell you about American exceptionalism, and they would tell you that America is the greatest country in the world. And that's true until you leave America. That African countries have a totally different relationship with America. Third world countries have a different relationship with America. You're just seeing, and on the foreign policy situation, a flip on Ukraine. Now Ukraine, who's had this relationship with America, is going, what happened? Well, this is the lie. This is the lie that they tell each other. And here's the thing that I want everybody to be aware of. So I try to be that way. And I'm going to jump on Instagram. I'm sorry, Satan, I didn't check the Instagram. Shout out, Brother Eric, wa alaikum assalam, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jabril still in the house. Jabril retired, everybody, from his gig, by the way. The lie that white people tell white people is different than the lie that white people tell black people. because the lies that white people tell white people aren't detailed in the context of you can culturally move the needle. Like you can culturally move the needle. Like me speaking to you directly warrants some type of action. And white people will notice that, there's levels to whiteness and white supremacy in America. And 9 times out of 10, um, what you're seeing now, eggs are $8 a carton. Surprise, son, you ever tried to buy some eggs higher than heroin? I went to Waffle House. They're like, you want some eggs? And then let me just have some heroin. It's cheaper. Okay. The lies that have told to African American about white America, they stop right there. We don't believe you. In the kindest way, what we will do is work on our levels of disagreeability, but at no point in time do we believe what you're saying. And here's another thing that should be said. Oh, let me jump on here, bro. We got Instagram in the house. At Mosquez, Salam alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. What's going on, brother? Let me see. Nisrin Sidawala, Salam alaikum. Samir, my man, Yakub, all the way from Kansas City. Wa alaikum assalam. What's up, brother? Namir's, beautiful, beautiful new African woman and man. Okay, Ruth, how you doing? Wa alaikum assalam to Katu Todd 33. Reza Paki, okay. Sister Ruth, wa alaikum assalam to barakatuh. Nafatia join. Hanif join. Okay, cool. All right, we didn't have too many. That's good. That's good. East Galloway, wa alaikum assalam to barakatuh. Man, how you doing, brother? You doing all right? It's good to see you on the show. Let me tell you, and I was just saying this to somebody, and I don't want to come off course or anything like that, but it needs to be said. Because you need to be honest. I think African American people need to be honest. I think Muslims need to be honest. We just need to have a thing because we're always told these lies, and what it is people judge our level of agreeability to these lies. Like, if is it going to be a 10? Is it going to be a 5? And they operate in that space. You may not believe this, but it's true. Because of the lies that have been told to the African American for his entire existence, there are few, if any, African Americans, few, if any, Latinos who will follow leadership of a white man. Hear me, America, you have not produced a leader, a white leader, that we wholeheartedly trusted, that we lowered our level of disagreeability and we joined in. There's no white leader that I can follow. There's none. And the reason there's none is because the framework of which you come from, that framework is a false narrative. And in between that, what happens is people like myself, other people in the community, we remember the lies that you tell. We remember the words that you're saying that lead to the culpability of people suffering, people dying, people being oppressed. We remember those things. And because we remember those things, you work harder and harder to forget. When you go to sleep tonight, you're not going to sleep well. Because somewhere, someplace in your heart, you're going to know that that lie ain't working. That somewhere, somehow, there's somebody working against that lie. And God forbid that the lie become further exposed. Not only exposed, but ridiculed, dissected, and at the lowest point, presented anyway. So listen, I got to get up off of here. There's probably more to when white folks, a lot of white folks. There's a lot of stuff to this. I hope you guys accept what I gave, and I don't want it to be a thing. I want to give a shout out to my aunt, Maxine BK Esquire. She says instructional discussion. That's my aunt. I love my aunt. You guys know. I got to have another aunt show, Satana. Um, but listen, I want you guys to start thinking about that. Thinking about it. Oh, my mom said, "Hey, too, you supposed to be eating your dinner. You eating your dinner, you listen to the show." Okay, then. All right. Listen, y'all been great. I gotta go. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.